Welcome to the White Sox Recap Podcast. I am Ryan McGuffey. Well, so much for the goodwill and the buzz after opening day, because since then, it's been a train wreck. They are 1-10 since opening day. The White Sox have lost 8 in a row since we're taping this. They come home from a winless road trip. It feels like 2024 all over again. And the question we're asking on this edition of the podcast is, offensively, are they actually worse? They might be. Brian Anderson joins me as we discuss the ugly part of the early start of the 2025 White Sox. It's the White Sox Recap Podcast, and it starts right now. Brian Anderson, at least for a day, and I'll be at the home opener, and we talked about the way too early impressions of the Chicago White Sox last week when we got together and taped like kind of what we like about this team, and they're playing different and they're playing clean. And quite frankly, they have been, but they're booting balls a little bit again. They did it in the finale in Cleveland. Offensively, though, man, it is I don't even know if it's abysmal. And I'm going to give you some numbers here in a minute, but really worst case scenario for the White Sox. They go on the road. They get swept by Detroit. They score 3 runs in Cleveland in 3 games. Cleveland's lineup is garbage too. They're getting healthy because they're playing the White Sox. The White Sox come home at 2-10, which is the same mark through 12 games as they were in 2024. Brian Anderson, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, I mean, holy cow. Thanks for coming. I tell you, I would not. Every front office and coach is sitting on that flight back, and they're going, "Oh my God!" Like the fans are going to absolutely torch them right now. And again, like no one thought they were going to be great, but man, we were giving them. We were getting excited about a couple different stats, a couple different scenarios. Mm-hmm. But again, they know what's coming, man. These there's going to be 53 sell the team signs. They're going to get booed when they leave a runner on third base with nobody out and the run doesn't score. They're going to let them have it. And again, I just hope Will Venable's prepared for something like this, because I promise you he's never experienced anything close to, White Sox fans when they feel slighted.
Yeah, you're probably right. And I will say, because of his background and the fact that he had a really nice career in the majors, I don't think that part will be foreign to him. You may not like it, but he's also going to look up and tell you we're 2-10. Okay, we're 2-10. We are not scoring runs. Lenyn Sosa booted a ball that was hit at probably an exit velocity of 35 against Cleveland, and those are the little things I'm looking at, because we talked about Chase Mydroth. They've had a boatload of injuries. I'm telling you, you keep your phone ready, man, because they need outfielders right now. And you have Michael Tauchman's on the IL again. Andrew Benintendi's on the IL again. We have Corey Lee on the IL from a catching standpoint. They have multiple guys go down in Cleveland. Dude, they've scored 35 runs in 12 games as we tape this. The math is easy on this one. It's under 3 runs a game. Yeah, they've scored 4 or more runs just 3 times. This thing is ugly. I'm going to read you a couple of OPSs. I want to read this. These are guys who are in the Chicago White Sox lineup today. Okay. These are OPSs. I know it's 12 games. I know the weather's been cold, but damn it, I hate that excuse, because it's cold for everyone right now. Andrew Vaughn, 455. Miguel Vargas, 20 pounds of muscle, 474. Lenyn Sosa, 593. Brooks Baldwin, 539. Michael Taylor, 554. And Jacob Amaya, I've told you this, he shouldn't be in the major leagues. He has a 232 flipping OPS. And I'll add Luis Robert, who was not in the lineup on Thursday, 423.
Wow. That's just, not to pivot away from what you just said, but that play the other night when Tauchman was rounding third in the bottom of the top of the ninth, they had a chance to tie the game. When he pulled up lame, and they were like, all right. They tagged him out like game over. I mean, right there, I just feel so bad for White Sox fans because when they saw that, I know they thought we're doomed. Like it's over because right there you get that spark that could help you win in Cleveland. You tie the ball game, win in the 10th, 11th inning. You hold on, you get that spark in order to maybe pull off a few more games or ride that momentum wave. But my gosh, man, like that was really tough to watch. But we talked about this last episode or last few episodes, Drake. Okay, you can have players that suck. Like I knew when I wasn't batting well or if my OPS was terrible or just average run of the mill, I knew that there was going to be 4 or 5 guys in that lineup going like, okay, we're going to win games. It'll buy me some time. But when everyone is shitting down their leg like that, the most excited person right now is going to be a position player in the minor leagues because they know at some point they're going to have some turnover here because it can't last. Like that's how GMs get fired. That's how people get fired. And I know Getsy's not going to lose his job banking on a guy who's hitting, $180.
Yeah, but like then what? But I know it in 162, and like I'm going to preface this all too by saying like I had him winning 53 games this year. That's not like I'm going, what is going on with the White Sox? The talent that they've run out there in the early going, and that's why the question on the screen right now says, is the offense actually worse in 25 than it was in 24? I think the talent is. I think the talent right now today is worse in 2025 than it was in 2024. It doesn't mean there's not some guys coming. That at least the one positive nugget is that there will be reinforcements at some point. But Chase Mydroth, he still has an OPS over 1050. Okay, Kyle Teel has taken a big dip. He's only hitting 190 now. He's kind of gone into a funk since that hot start. Tim Elko, the big boy, 355 average. And people are talking about Andrew Vaughn. They did show something today in the game. He ranks in the top 10% of like 5 analytical categories, which is barrel, hard hit rate. What when I saw
fans, because fans care about that.
When he walks into guarantee or when he walks into the rate and they look up and see 162 or whatever it is that he's hitting. Andrew Vaughn 125. I gave him 40 points. They don't want to hear about barrel. They don't.
Yeah. Hey, in 2006, I lined out a ton too. You know who didn't care? The fans.
Yeah.
They're like, figure it out, dude, or beat it.
I just don't like it. Just Luis Robert, he's, I'm frustrated with him too. On Wednesday, he leads off. He saw 4 pitches in 3 at-bats. 4.
That can never happen. That one right there, Guff, you can spin a lot of stuff. If you're a manager or if you're the media, you can go, well, he's been hitting the ball hard. When you go up there and you swing at 4 pitches in 3 at-bats, you better have 2 first pitch home runs, a line out, and a rollover, or whatever the case may be. That cannot happen.
I'm going to read you a couple stats here. And people don't like to hear about the Cubs when we're talking about the White Sox, but I don't care because the Cubs are the clubhouse leader right now in the major leagues offensively. And I want to just compare. The Cubs are trying to get to the playoffs, and I get that. And the White Sox have a $65 million payroll, and we know what they are. But this is not Major League Baseball right now, not from an offensive standpoint. The Cubs lead the majors with 96 runs. The White Sox have 35. The Cubs have 3 times as many runs as the White Sox. The Cubs have 130 hits. The White Sox have 75. The White Sox are hitting they're hitting under 200. Under 200 as a team.
That's incredible, man. That's
I know. Again, I don't even want to hear that they're hitting 199, 273 on base, 305 slug. We talked last episode. Oh, at least they've had power. Do you know since the last episode how many home runs they have?
I'm scared to ask, but it's probably right around the number 1.
0.
Oh, no.
They haven't homered. Yeah. That's where
even your boy BA over here run into one on a road trip, man.
That's what I'm saying, man. And don't tell me it's cold. Cleveland had a couple of bombs. Cleveland had a couple of bombs on Thursday. It just Jacob and Maya and company, I understand you're talking about starting clocks and stuff. I get it. But they don't right now. I question, and I'm being 100% honest here, because I know there's a big jump between AAA and the majors. I know, and you know that I know that. But I honestly don't know how many runs per game this version of the White Sox offense would score in AAA. I don't.
Well, hey, let me tell you, Guff, in baseball, right? We've discussed this before, but there's a standard, right? And I don't give a shit how bad I was playing. That's the reason why I hit Verlander well, because to his credit, if you weren't one of the premier hitters in the middle of the lineup and there wasn't anybody on, he'd come after you with a 96-mile-an-hour first pitch fastball. No matter how bad you are or how bad you're playing, you should always be able to go back and revert back to going, I'm sitting fastball out over the plate, because you could smack one in the gap, hit a home run into one. And on top of that, you always have that lefty that you're going to see at some point going, yeah, we don't have very much power, but hey, if you're a right-handed hitter and there's a lefty coming in throwing 93 with a hook, you out of 9 guys in that lineup, you should run into a couple off that guy, just because he's going to throw strikes and you're going to accidentally run into a few baseballs. But to have no home runs is insane.
So Chris gets that right in the seat that I'm sitting in right now. And we asked him, when you hire a new manager, I expected to see, and I think you and I talked about this in the offseason, I expected to see kind of wholesale changes on the coaching staff. I always knew Ethan was coming back. And quite frankly, there are fans out there who want him gone. He has shown to me his value in doing kind of working like a magician at times with some of the guys that the White Sox are running out there, probably when they shouldn't even be. The bullpen is a complete mess. Mike Clevenger can't find the strike zone. You can argue why he's even here. I don't know how much longer that leash will be here. But Marcus Tim survived the cut. And Chris said, you can only turn over. So you need some kind of continuity. He preached continuity. They changed the manager. They changed the bench coach. They changed the message. But I'm starting to wonder, because you're a guy that's had multiple hitting coaches. And Greg Walker, his name, people wanted to fire him into the sun throughout the 05, 06, 07, 08, when you guys were scoring record amount of runs in team history, hitting a bunch of homers, etc. People are, fire Greg Walker. Could you imagine if that was today? No one's saying anything about Marcus Timms. And I'm not saying fire Marcus Timms 12 games into the season. But I guess what I'm asking is, if the talent is this, you have the 3rd overall pick in the draft in Andrew Vaughn. You have Benintendi, and Benintendi's been fine when he's been on the field. Luis Robert is lost and looks completely unenthused and uninterested. Those guys you're talking about all-star caliber type, okay, when I'm mentioning those names. How do you fix it? Is it a message? Is it how do that many guys have an OPS of 500 or below? Miguel Vargas, all we heard about, 20 pounds of muscle. And I knew as soon as I heard that, I rolled my eyes and got the puke bucket.
What the hell is he on? Give me some of that.
Jesus. Yeah, well, good thing he added 20 pounds of muscle, because it hasn't helped on the baseball field. And I guess my question is, with the guys that we know they're going to rely on, Jacob Amaya's not going to be here. Lenyn Sosa's not going to be here long-term. But for now, the Vargases, the Vaughns, the Roberts, etc., how does it get better? And it can't just be warm weather. It can't.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up Ethan, right? I think he's the right man for the job right now. You have a younger pitching staff where there's so many moving parts. His mild-mannered demeanor, his calmness, you have to have that sense of calmness in order to be able to deal with something like that. Because can you imagine fucking Don Cooper? His head would explode. If Don Cooper had to deal with these guys, he'd be like, you fucking bunch of pussies. You guys stink, So I think that's there. And then, Marcus Timms played against him. Nice guy, good guy. There has to be something, though. I mean, you should be able to take 9 rookies in your starting lineup. And again, I know that he doesn't have that, but you should be able to take 9 guys in the starting lineup and have an approach and a plan and an expectation of hey guys,
that's what I'm talking about.
See a pitch. We're going to see a pitch. Greg Walker, one time we had a meeting, we were facing Kenny Rogers. I had always hit him fairly well, but for whatever reason, he had gotten us out on the first 2 pitches every at bat. and Greg Walker was like, we're going to take the first pitch. We're going to take a strike. My dumb ass goes up there and freaking fouls off the first pitch and swung. I looked in the dugout. He was like, what are you doing? But there was that accountability factor going like, oh my God, if you don't execute, you don't follow a game plan as a younger player, you're going to get benched. And I know it might like start like a downward spiral, but I'd bench Luis Roberts' ass. I'd call up somebody else and be like, listen, dude, it's your 5th year in the big leagues. You can't swing you can't get out. You can't see 4 pitches and 3 at bats. So if I were Marcus Timms, I would sit the players down or at least the older guys and be like, guys, I don't expect you to hit 40 homers, but you have to lead by example. You have to take advantage of those pitches, and you have to be able to hit mistakes. Shit, as bad as I ever felt, especially in 2008, when I'm like, okay, I'm going to play against lefties. You threw me a fastball middle away in a hitter's count, it was going out of the park, or I was going to smack it, right? It wasn't roll over, foul it off, all that shit. It's just really frustrating to watch like big league level expectations, like the standard, and that just be so below that standard that it's like, what are you going to tell fans? I mean, I would be furious if I was the front office.
Yeah, and that's what I guess I'm at. That's what I was asking, because that's good insight about talking to Walk when you guys were playing, because it feels like right now everyone's going up with an individual plan. And I know that is not the case. I know that these guys have more video, more scouting reports, more information than ever before. They're going from the on deck circle they're going from the batter's box back to the dugout and looking at an iPad. I mean, instantly. And so the information's there, but I really do wonder what the plan is. I mean, because 30% of their runs have been scored in the first inning. Usually that's a good sign. You're scoring runs in the first inning. They've scored 10 runs in the first inning. I like that. Here's what I don't like. I knew there was no doubt in my mind, literally zero doubt in my mind. On Thursday in the finale in Cleveland, they scored a run off of a wild pitch. I really I'm sitting here by myself and I said, that's it. They won't score again. They won't score again. And we've seen that time and time and time again. And I just, to not have one guy other than Andrew, I mean, I guess Andrew Benintendi is the one example right now who looks like a professional hitter with a plan, but to have just, this is the part I don't understand about the White Sox, because I don't feel like other teams, and I'm not spending a lot of time putting the Miami Marlins under a microscope, but the Miami Marlins have won some games. They beat the Mets yesterday by having a plan, because Matt Mervis is hitting the ball out of the ballpark. So maybe I've spent more time looking at the Marlins than I thought.
Hey, my point is, like you're saying about those iPads, that will never, I told you as a good comp, we had the video room, right? I used to run down there after bat at bat, and I go watch the screen. And I think Ozzy even went in there one time. He's like, out. Or Joey Cora was like, get out. Not because he didn't want me to watch my at bat and learn, process, make adjustments. He's like, dude, get out of there. We had a game going on, man. This is the big leagues. Like, you're missing out. It's almost like texting. It's like texting at a concert or filming at like a Rolling Stones concert. It's like, these guys are going to be dead soon, man. This is the Rolling Stones. You're looking at your phone during the concert? Like, Cap would have a heart attack. Look, I know Cap wouldn't allow that.
That's a really good. I like that. I feel the same way sometimes. Cap is literally just confirmed that.
Guff, the White Sox tech department should hack into those iPads, and it should have a thing that pops up when a guy sucks like that. Just says you stink when you look at it, and then that way they don't have to look at anything. Yeah. Just say you stink, and then go out there and go play and focus on the next at bat.
I feel like sometimes there is such thing as too much information. It's information overload. And then, the mental part of this game, the game of failure and everything else that comes with it. When you're getting all this information and you're like, you're in a 0 for 22, it seems unnecessary.
I mean, I wasn't the best hitter ever, but I'd have been out of the game real quick, because you just watch the game, man. The White Sox, I should text Getsy. I should print shirts off for them, being like, watch the fucking game. You're missing out. Watch what Benintendi's doing in 2-0 pitches or 2-1 counts. Let's see how he approaches, or let's see if he's taking a strike. It's such a hard game, but my gosh, there's so much to learn in front of you. I have the luxury of having Hall of Famers and pros on my team. And man, like, I remember Uribe and I would start off slower average wise, right? Like we weren't known as being like 280 to 300 guys, but for the most part, those other guys, man, they were just constantly having good at bats.
Well, look, there's no end in sight. I mean, they have the Red Sox. As we tape this now, the Red Sox are coming to town, and then the A's are coming to town. And we know the A's, they're pesky. They can score runs. They're 5-8. It doesn't matter. I shouldn't even say records anymore because records really don't matter unless you're the Rockies or the White Sox. They're kind of the Rockies or the White Sox of the West, I guess. But it really doesn't matter who's coming in here anymore. The Sox need to change something. They need a win, obviously. They need to score in bunches. But this game looks exactly the same. It's rinse and repeat. I know that Will Venable, he's trying to mix the lineup and throw guys at the top. Until you get Chase Maidroth here, there is no true leadoff hitter. I mean, Nick Maton and Vargas. I guess I keep coming back as we put a bow on this thing. I guess I keep coming back to like watching that Luis Robert at the top. And it just infuriates me because one of the whole disappointments of this entire first rebuild was that trio. That trio that everyone, that the organization gave contracts to, and then also handed the keys at the same time. And to see how fat and happy the other two guys who aren't here got, and then to know the talent that Luis Robert has, and to see him going up there and just saying, first pitch swing, let's go. Like he just wants to get the game over with, is just very disappointing. And maybe that's the reason he sat on Thursday. Maybe Will Venable did say, you know what? You're going to get a day off. You need a breather. But he also, maybe there's like a little bit of accountability. Like that's not going to play here. We need, at least Andrew Vaughn's at bats have looked good. I can say that. Like he's had 8, 9, 10, 12 pitch at bats. Hasn't led to success. But I don't know. I guess I'm just spewing at this point because I thought
you're not wrong, man.
I like last year there was nothing to stop the bleeding. You didn't have a manager that the players liked or bought into, and vice versa. And here we are coming up on this. We haven't even played 15 games, and we're talking about the possibility of a 10-game losing streak. Something needs to, like, that's where I'm hoping for a little bit more. I don't know. If you're raking in the minors, if you're Tim Elko, who's 11 for 31.
Right, if you're in high A right now, raking, I got my eyes on the big leagues this year. If you're an older guy or an experienced guy.
I like that. That's a great point. If you're in high A, there's a path.
Oh my gosh.
Ugly stuff, my friend. Look at how high and low we can go. The first 1 week we're talking about, hey, it's 2-4, but there's some things here. A week later, we're like, they're 2-10 and the sky is falling.
Tell you what, man, we joked around about it via text. If it's the time Will Venable and the staff should be worried is if you can feel the energy in the dugout. If they're down 2-0, 3-0, 4-1, go like come 6th, 7th inning, and you can see the energy get sucked out of the building, or at least out of the the dugout. That's a really bad spot to be in this early, because that means they're just like, oh, okay, we're down 3, it's over, because you're not just going to magically score 5 runs in 3 innings if you're only scoring 1 in the first 6.
Very good. Yeah. The team seems to have a little bit more thick skin than that, but there's got to be, for those people who have been here through 41 and 121, they're probably a little that here we go again feeling can probably creep up a little earlier. I will give a plug to something that's really good. Shane Smith's been fun to watch. That changeup is absolutely filthy. So
can he hit for himself?
That's the thing. We're giving another hat tip to a pitcher because that's what they got. And lastly, on Sunday when Garrett Crochet pitches at the rate against the White Sox, what's the over/under on strikeouts if you're setting it? 9.5.
Baseball's so dumb. Like they'll probably score 10 runs off them and get them out in the 2nd inning. Then they'll
honestly, you're probably right. You are probably right. Like baseball has no humor sometimes.
Yeah.
Brian Anderson, Ryan McGuffey, the White Sox Recap Podcast. We're here for you. We're here for you when it hurts. We're here for you whenever it hits. If they ever hit, I guess we'll be here for you too. But yeah, you're the best. Appreciate you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. You can catch this podcast wherever you listen or subscribe to audio form only podcasts throughout Apple, Spotify, etc. And of course, here on the Recap platform on YouTube. For Brian Anderson, I'm Ryan McGuffey. We'll see you next time on the White Sox Recap Podcast.